YouTube, what is going on? DA Comics here, coming back at you guys with another video, and today we're going to talk about this. This is, without a doubt, the worst run of Amazing Spider-Man that I have ever picked up in the 15 plus years that I've been reading Spider-Man comic books. And this issue specifically is really making me worried that if this run continues on the path it's going, it may hit a point where Spider-Man comics won't be able to recover. Let's talk about it. Now, it's no secret that this run has been controversial, to say the least, ever since the very beginning of it, when it was immediately clear that Marvel did that good old thing they love to do, which is breaking up Peter and MJ. We ended the last run of Amazing Spider-Man with Peter and MJ very much getting back together, moving in together, in a relationship once again. And then we had Spider-Man Beyond, which was Peter in a coma in the hospital and MJ at his bedside the entire time. Fast forward to the new run, and it was immediately clear, oh, actually, no, they're broken up again. Oh, and also Mary Jane has kids now? Now, I've talked about that before. If you want to check out that video, it's right up there. But specifically, I want to talk about Paul. Now, Paul is probably the most hated character in Spider-Man comics history. He's easily Spider-Man's worst villain. Everybody hates Paul. And the reason why is because he's the guy who supposedly is with Mary Jane and they have kids and they're together. Now, we've been going for 20 plus issues of this run without really knowing anything about Paul. He just shows up every now and again and everyone sees him and just hates him and just gets angry. But in this storyline, which has promised to give us answers to what is going on in the current run of Spider-Man, we're starting to get some hints of who Paul may be. In this issue, we are seeing a flashback into the past, where Peter and MJ, at the end of Spider-Man Beyond, got sent into an alternate dimension by some villain whose name I don't even remember, don't even care. But while they were running in there, this figure shows up, this hooded figure with a gun, and he shoots the monster that's chasing them. And we saw this in the previews of this issue, and everyone started predicting, oh my god, that's going to be Paul. And I thought, that's way too funny to be true. There's no way that they're stupid enough to actually make this Paul. And lo and behold, sure enough, the issue comes out. Yeah, it's Paul. It's Paul. So basically, Paul is this scientist guy who's been living in this other dimension, and he's helping Peter and MJ escape from it. But he says, here's the deal. I have this device. It can teleport one of us back to the normal world. I think we should send Peter, we should send Spider-Man so that he can go and get help and save the day, whatever. And Peter goes, no, we're going to send MJ. I want to make sure she's safe, and then I'll stay here. MJ decides, no, you're going back, and she kind of forces his hand, giving him the device and making him go back. Now, the obvious assumption to draw here with where this story is going is that time is going to be different in the main universe and in this alternate dimension. And I think it's pretty clear to everyone what's going to happen. Peter's going to get back to the dimension to rescue Mary Jane, and it will have been years in that dimension. Her and Paul have fallen in love and had children, got married, whatever. And that is potentially what is going on in the universe with Mary Jane and her kids. Because everyone said, what the heck, it's been like 6 months. How does Mary Jane have, like, grown kids? And this could be the answer to that, is this time jump. Now, I want to be very clear. There is a possibility that that's not the case. That that's just what they want you to think, and it's going to be some kind of twist, and the kids aren't real or something. I don't know. But I'm here making this video because if it does go the way it seems, if these kids are, in fact, Paul and MJ's kids, I don't know how Spider-Man comics can recover. Because the problem is, it always is, goes back to One More Day. One More Day was a very controversial Spider-Man comic book. It completely undid Peter and Mary Jane's marriage. Years of character development, and ever since people have been begging them to undo it. And they still could. Nick Spencer came this close. He was trying. He almost did it. The problem is, if you give Mary Jane a family, kids, you can't undo that as easily. One More Day, it's super easy to undo. You just do a storyline with Mephisto and, like, undo the contract or whatever, do some magic shenanigans. But if Mary Jane has kids with Paul, you can't just snap them away. What do? Kill the kids? No, you can't do that. So, essentially, not only is Zeb Wells going, no, I don't like Peter and MJ, I'm going to break them up, but I'm going to make sure that they can never, ever undo this. I'm going to make sure that they can't ever get them back together, because now Mary Jane is always going to have this family. So if they do get back together, Peter's going to have to be like their stepfather, and it's this whole weird thing. This is bad. This is really bad. And I'm not the only one who feels this way. If you go anywhere on the internet, everyone is pretty much universally hating this run. And that brings me to the second part of this video, and what I really want to talk about is, how are the creators of this book handling the criticism? And the answer is not very well. Specifically, I want to talk about the editor, Nick Lowe. So we can all blame the writer, we can blame the artist, but everybody knows the general creative direction of the book is determined by the editor. So the writers certainly have a say and they have a choice, but nothing gets past the editor. So if you want to blame anyone for story issues, it's the editor. Now, Nick Lowe has built up a bit of a reputation for himself responding to criticism online. If you go on his Twitter page and you go to his replies, and I did, 80 to 90% of his Twitter replies are him replying to people hating on the book. Now, I want to be very clear. When I'm talking about this person and I'm showing his Twitter account and giving my feedback, I am not in any way encouraging anyone to go and send hate to this person. I think criticism of a comic book should be just that. Criticism of a comic book. We don't need personal attacks. We don't need death threats. We don't need anything like that. Only constructive criticism in a respectful manner. So I don't doubt that Nick Lowe is probably getting a lot of personal attacks, death threats, whatever. You name it. And yeah, that's awful. That shouldn't be happening. But he's also getting a lot of perfectly valid criticism over the state of the comic book, which we are all disappointed by. And the problem with how he's handling it is he's clearly trying to take the upper hand and be the better person by kind of replying to these haters and being like, oh, I'm sorry you didn't like it. Hope you have a great day. And he's continuously doing this to try and kind of like point out, like, look how unreasonable they're being. I'm being so polite. Which, I get it. If you're getting nothing but personal attacks, I understand. You want to, be the better man, right? But the problem is, in the process, he's completely overlooking all of the criticism and why he's actually getting that hate. Because he's not actually taking it into account. He's not going, oh, well, why are people so upset about this run? No, instead he's going, well, actually, a lot of people like this run. You're all just unreasonable. No one's falling for this. He tries to pretend like, oh, we get positive letters all the time. It's actually the far majority of the feedback we get is people loving it. There's no way that's true. I'm sorry, but if I can't find positive comments on Reddit, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, on any social media, I highly doubt you're getting any in your fan letters. Because if people are going to the effort of emailing you their feedback, those are the same people who are going to talk about it on social media. There's not some person who's just like not on social media, but they're emailing you, hey, I love the Spider-Man book. Now, I want to be clear. I'm sure there's people who like the current run of Spider-Man. If you're watching this video and you like the current run of Spider-Man, that's perfectly valid. You're allowed your own opinion. But no one is going to believe for a second that the majority of people giving them feedback likes the current run of Spider-Man. Because you can ask anybody, and you will get a lot of negative feedback over positive feedback on the internet. You'd have to be an idiot to believe when Nick Lowe says that that's the case. And that's where a lot of people accuse Nick Lowe of cherry-picking the positive letters to print in the back of the book. And I've noticed this. If you go in the letters section of Amazing Spider-Man 22, every single one of the letters they decided to print is people going, oh my gosh, I love this book. It's so much fun. It's this, that, the other. And that's great. I don't doubt that those are real letters. Maybe those are people who enjoy the book. But only printing the positive ones, you're clearly trying to make a narrative that like, no, people are enjoying it. They're not angry at us, but people love it. And that's just not true. This person tweeted, does the 10-to-1 hate this to like it ratio actually get through to you? I know you cherry pick the letters you publish in the editorial as well. Your majority audience should be taken into account versus the minority that actually agrees with the Peter and MJ can't be married crowd. And the person quoting it says, no, it does not. Bullying and harassing on Twitter because you don't like a comic book does not lead to editorial changes. That would be ridiculous. By doing that, you're causing people to write off your opinion as nutty. Now, I understand what Joe Caramagna is trying to say here. He's saying the people who are sending death threats because they're like, how dare you break up Peter and MJ, it makes that whole crowd sound nutty. And I agree, which is why I say do not do that. But you can't really be that dense as to be like, this one person got carried away and sent me death threats, so clearly everyone who agrees with that person's opinion on this comic book is wrong. That's some hardcore copium there. That's not how it works. Nick Lowe quote tweets this and says, "We get very few letters, very few, from people still mad about One More Day. We get some, sure, and I print interesting ones every now and again. We get way more positive than negative, hard as it is for some people to believe." Yeah, it's hard for us to believe because we all see it. You go anywhere. Go to r/Spider-Man on Reddit, even r/comic books, and find someone who loves One More Day. There's going to be about one of those for every 50 people you see. So I'm sorry, I don't believe you. If you aren't getting letters from people still mad about One More Day, it's probably because they gave up, because they know you guys are never going to listen to them. But here's some examples of Nick Lowe kind of trying to write off the haters in a respectful way. Nick Lowe tweeted out, "Few offerings from your spiders, second prints from our failing Amazing Spider-Man series," with a winky emoji. So he's obviously jabbing at the haters, right? He's going, oh, our failing Amazing Spider-Man series, it's getting a second printing, so it's so successful. Yeah, it's Amazing Spider-Man. It's always going to be successful. You have people like me who are going to buy every single issue despite hating it. Someone quote tweets it and says, "Just stop reading Spider-Man and start reading The Flash instead. At least he's allowed a wife and kids and stories that are actually cool." This is something a lot of people have been talking about. The current run of The Flash has character development for their character. He's married, he has kids, things like that. And a lot of people have been comparing it to Spider-Man because that's what Spider-Man can't seem to have. Someone else replied to that tweet, "Pretty much, I know I'm done. Until things change, not that Nick Lowe or anyone in the Spider Office gives a crap." Now, I think that's a pretty reasonable tweet. They're not, telling them to go unalive themselves. They're not spouting vulgarities. They're literally just saying, yeah, I don't feel like Nick Lowe really cares about our community. And that's a perfectly valid thing to say because that's exactly how it feels as a member of that community. And Nick Lowe replies, "Sorry you don't like the book, but I promise you that everyone in the Spider Office cares. Have a good day." Now, it's very obvious, he's trying to be positive, but there is an underhandedness to this positivity. It's basically going like, oh, you're just negative for the sake of negative. I'm going to be positive. But you're ignoring the fact that this is a person who is a fan, reader of your comic book saying, I'm done. That's a bad thing. You don't want that happening. Next up, someone said, "As someone who has been reading Spider-Man since the early 90s, this run has been the utmost worst. An embarrassment to the character and for all those involved. I wish Spencer was still on and would have loved to see him work with Romita Jr. Book needs a new editor." Once again, a perfectly reasonable tweet. Yes, it's critical, but it's critical in a respectful way. They're going, hey, as someone who's been reading Spider-Man for a long time, this run is terrible. I'm not enjoying it. I wish Spencer was still around. I think it needs a new editor. I would agree with everything this person's saying. I think they're being perfectly reasonable. Nick Lowe replies, "Sorry you didn't like the book, but have a good day." Does this guy, this can't be good for your mental state to be, actively seeking out negative feedback this much. The fact that Nick is replying to all of these tweets tells me that he is actively, doom scrolling the negative feedback of the Spider-Man books. And you would think that something would click in his head to go, oh, there's a lot of negative feedback, maybe we should change something. No, that's not going to happen. "Man, the new issue is just a waste of money, TBH. Sorry you didn't like it, John. Hope you have a good day." It's condescending. I am so deeply disappointed in what you guys have done to this series in such a short time. Went from a good run to an interesting arc to this. And are deliberately trying to piss off your fans for whatever reason. Just sad. I used to think y'all cared. Sorry you don't like it. Don't love you trying to say whether I care or not, but you do you. Dude, he's like, oh, I don't love that you're saying that I don't care. Why are you putting that on me? You can't presume how I feel. We're basing our opinions of you based on what you're giving to us. All you're giving to us is Spider-Man comics that we're actively telling you we don't like, a creative direction we're actively telling you we don't want, and then when we're giving you that feedback, you're just replying to us in a snotty, condescending way of have a nice day, negative person. Yeah, that's why we feel like you don't care, because you're not listening. I'd be surprised if anyone likes this current stuff, Nick. I don't like to be critical of creators, but this is truly abysmal. If you don't want people to pirate as per your other tweet, aim for something that doesn't make buying the book feel like you've been robbed of your money. It's fine to not like things, Clarin. or Sierran, whatever their name is, we get letters from people who like the books all the time. Not saying that they're right and you're wrong. It's all subjective, of course. But just because you don't like something doesn't make it universally hated. Have a great day. Wow, that is such a condescending response. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around that. Like, nowhere did this person say, hey, everyone hates your book. No, they said, hey, I would be surprised if anyone likes this current stuff. And I would agree with that because given the amount of negative feedback that I constantly see online, I would also be surprised if anyone likes this current stuff. And they said, buying the book feels like you've been robbed of your money. And all Nick can respond is, well, we get letters from people who like the books all the time. Not saying they're right and you're wrong. Like, yes, you are. That is what you're trying to say. And you are wrong. You cannot just state that like it's a fact. Oh, we get tons of positive letters, and then if people try to go, oh yeah, prove it, well, that's all they're freaking printing, but I hate to break it to you, this is 6 letters? I promise you you're getting a lot more than 6 letters per issue. This person replied to his tweet and said, you're kidding, right? This shit sucks. Now, that's a little bit more, they're cursing and they're just saying this sucks. It's not the most constructive criticism, but it's not a personal attack. They're not going unalive yourself, anything like that. And he responds, sorry you don't like it, but you don't need to be rude and crude here. And then he types his username like without the @ like it just types out his name like some boomer. This is just a few examples. You can go and scroll on his Twitter and see a lot more like this. And it's just really disappointing to see. I tried to look at some of the other creators to see how they're handling the hate. If you go to Zeb Wells' Twitter, he just does not respond to it. The only tweets that he's responding to are positive ones, loving the book, as few and far between as those are. But Nick Lowe has to go out of his way to seek out the negative tweets so that he can reply to them with snark, condescension, I know what's right for the book and you're wrong. It's really disappointing to see, and I think that really he needs to take a look at what he's doing and recognize that there are tons of fans of Spider-Man who are very disappointed with the state of the book right now. This isn't just the crazy people sending death threats. There are tons of people with actual constructive criticism, so we need to show them that. So I'm going to encourage everyone who watches this video, send them your feedback right here. spideyoffice@marvel.com. Send them a letter. Now, I want to be very clear with this recommendation. Do not send them any personal attacks. Do not send them any death threats. Nothing of that nature. Keep it respectful. Keep it constructive. Just send them a letter and say, hey, I am not enjoying the current run of Spider-Man. I want you to undo one more day. I want Peter and MJ to be able to be together. I want to see character progression in my ongoing comic book series. That's the whole point. This comic book has been going for 60 years, and we've made it this far as character progression. Let them know you want to see that. And I have to hold out hope that if they hear it enough, maybe it'll get through their heads that this is what they should be doing. They could have the easiest slam dunk in the world by just undoing one more day, getting Peter and MJ married again. People would be so happy with them. But instead, they're choosing to die on this hill, and frankly, I'm worried that they will. A long-time Spider-Man fan. I've been collecting Spider-Man comics my entire life. I want to see them succeed. I want this book to continue on for decades. I want my children to be reading new issues of Amazing Spider-Man. But I'm really worried that if they continue to die on this hill and insist that they know what's best, and that what's best is Peter and MJ not being together, I'm afraid people are going to stop caring. Right now, it's a really contentious period for Spider-Man comic fans because we're all so passionate about this book. The reason we're so upset about what is happening in the comics right now is because we care. But eventually that care will run out, and the contention will become apathy. And that's when people stop buying. That's when people stop reading, and that's when your book will start to really fail. I don't doubt that the sales for this Spider-Man series are good right now, because people are still picking it up hoping it will get better. We're picking up this storyline hoping that it'll clear up this whole mess. But if this continues, if they double down and go this route, people are going to stop picking it up. I can't say that I'll stop picking it up because I'm just going to pick up this book until the day it ends or the day I die. but I know for a fact there are less passionate people than myself who will stop picking it up. And I don't want to see that happen. So, hopefully, they can fix this before it's too late. So, I sent them my letter, and I encourage you all to send them your feedback, because that seems to be the place where they're getting their feedback, and I hope that if they get enough constructive criticism, they can't ignore it. And maybe they'll even print it. I hope so. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. If you are new around here, consider hitting that subscribe button. I do videos like this talking about comic books. I do comic book pickups, going through all of the comics I add to my collection. I have a podcast, which is going to be resuming shortly, where we read through every issue of Amazing Spider-Man all the way back from the Stan Lee days. Tons of content like that, so definitely consider subscribing and keep sticking around. If you did enjoy this video, hit that like button and please share it. Post it out on Twitter, post it out wherever. Let's get the word out there that us reasonable-minded Spider-Man readers are unhappy with the series. And I think if we can get more attention to this, then hopefully we can make a change. So share this video. And of course, comment your thoughts down below. Are you enjoying the current run of Spider-Man? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, and I encourage everyone to keep it respectful down there. If people are disagreeing with you in the comments, keep it respectful, keep it calm. Let's have a discussion about this comic book that we all love. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Peace out.